event. Today, we are going to speak on a special subject, annual report compliance. My name is Smitha Smith, and I am the CEO and co-founder at KelpHR. The subject is very, very close to my heart, and I have been working in the subject for the last 10 years now, 7 years as an entrepreneur, okay, sitting in various organizations as external member. I have handled more than 100 cases in my lifetime, all right, and not very proud of it, but yes, I am here to share my experience with you, because every case, every experience, every encounter has left me with a whole lot of experience. As you all know that we have got this law in 2013, it is not a watertight law. There are a lot of loopholes within, but I'll have to put people on mute. Just a request, please go on mute because there is an audio at the background which could be disturbing. So coming back to... All right. So coming back to the subject, so in 2013, when we got the law, while it is detailed, but there are these gaps which are not explained really well. But with our experiences, we get a way around it. Okay, so that is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So moving on, what is annual report compliance? Do you all know that we have to file 2 kinds of reports every year? The first report is as per what is mentioned in the law under section 21. It says that the internal committee or the local committee, as the case may be, shall in each calendar year prepare in such form and at such time as may be prescribed an annual report and submit the same to the employer and the district officer. What does that mean? That means that every internal committee member, I understand all of y'all are from an organization which already has an internal committee. So you have to file a report with the employer and the district officer. So you have to send either you send it to employer and send a copy to district officer, or do vice versa, whatever is okay. There is no strict diktat that it could be the other way around. Okay, so you send these 2 copies. Okay, now always we have a question: who's the district officer? Where do we send it? Okay, so this is a very good question. We'll solve in a bit. Another report that we have to file is with the director's report. So every organization which is registered has to file within the director's report the annual report again. All right. So these are the 2 reports that get filed. Now the question is, we are already in November. So November, December, and the year comes to an end. So we have to file a report for this 2020, year 2020. Are we prepared for it? We went through a pandemic, which was, we did not do a lot of training programs. We may or may not have had cases, but let me tell you, in pandemic, KelpHR investigated or conducted proceedings for around 18 cases. We cater to 110 companies as the IC members. So 18 cases for 110 companies is somewhere we are closing to around 20-odd%, which is a huge number. Okay, that's the number which could get recorded across. We thought, or rather I thought, that because of pandemic and no physical encounters or meeting, social distancing, there won't be many cases. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and these were the cases that got reported. Now, what will this report consist of? The annual report consists of number of complaints that you have received, number of complaints that you have closed or disposed of, number of cases pending for more than 90 days, okay, number of workshops or awareness programs that you have conducted, and nature of action taken by the employer. Now, there is one more additional input that I would want you to include in it, because this is come out from the interaction that we had with our internal, the district offices. They want you to specify your IC composition. So are you doing that? Is your IC formed? Who are your IC members? Who are the presiding officers? Are we doing that is important. So if you're not doing that, then in your annual report, you will have to form an IT report. All right. Then this, if you see, is an indicative template which we have created, which you could use. After the session, we will email it to you. You can use it the way you need it to submit the report. But the most important question still remains is, after compiling the report, where do you send it? All right. So for that report to be comprehensive, as I mentioned, these are a couple of things that you will have to do. So how do you know if you're ready for it? Is your internal committee functional? I heard many of people saying that internal committee we have suspended because cases are not coming up. But please understand, internal committee is not only to redress cases, but they are also to work towards prevention and prohibition. Okay. In work from home situation, there has been many cases which got reported, which were pure play lockdown cases, right? So please, if your internal committee is not functional, you have 2 months time to revise them. Figure out what are they doing? Are they meeting? Is a quarterly review meeting or half-yearly review meeting happening? At least once a year are they meeting and they are working towards what they were appointed for. Second, take a stock of ongoing cases. Is it nearing 90 days mark? If it is nearing, then please ensure you're doing the right job and closing it before 90 days, unless you have a very strong reason of why you were not able to close. Third, have you ensured principle of natural justice? Have you ensured that you have given adequate hearing to both the parties? Okay. Most important, created clear and detailed reports. As an IC member, whatever work you must have done, whatever time you must have invested, but have you ensured that you have done a proper documentation for that? It is very, very important that all of us do that. If you have not done, review it, get your IC to review it and come back to you with whatever other shortcomings. Next, take care of principle of natural justice. That is what I mentioned. Have you ensured that you have given adequate hearing to both parties? Maintain clear communication between complainant and respondent. There are times, because we are working in our workplace, from our home, we are not sure if we are having a clear communication with the complainant and respondent. So ensure that we are doing that. Spend a little more time. So these are the 2 months which you could use to ensure that they are taken care of. Okay. So the complainant knows what's happening to the case. The respondent is aware what is happening. Okay. And there is no break in communication. Have a good reason if cases are pending beyond 90 days. Please figure out if you have any of them, because there are times when we do not have any reasons, and it's really sad, because that you will have to explain. Okay, if you are questioned, you might have to explain. Have you ensured you're conducting trainings or workshops? A lot of people question me saying pandemic, social distancing, people are not meeting each other. How do we conduct workshop or training programs? There are varied methods of conducting. There has to be a spirit, okay? And I'm sure you can achieve what you are planning to achieve. If you're giving a pandemic as a reason, I am not sure how we can explain that in our annual report, because in annual report, you have to mention how many programs have you conducted. Okay. Moving on. Yes. Where and how to submit the report? Great question. Every establishment where there are 10 or more employees must submit the report. What does that mean? That means that if we have smaller sales office, one of the questions that came to me is that I have varied sales office in various locations. So should I submit a report across? Yes. If you have 10 or more employees in each of these sales office, then you will have to submit a report in each one of them. Okay. If you have less than 10 employees, then I don't see a reason that you need to submit a report. But if there are 10 or more people, you will have to submit in each and every district office. Okay. It must be submitted to the district office of your establishment. So in Mumbai, for example, there are 2. In Delhi, I think there are 5 or 6 district offices. So depending on which location you are, you will have number of district offices depending on how it has been laid out. So please go ahead, find out. How do you find out? Yeah, KelpHR spent a lot of time in doing that. We looked up our district office guide. We went through that. We have called those district offices, figured out if they are collecting the reports, and confirmed that, got their address, email IDs, and we have slowly over a period of time made a database. If you are part of any jurisdiction where you're not aware, where do you want to submit, please write to us and we'll be happy to send you the address and the contact details. More depends from state to state. How do we have to send a hard copy, or do we have to send a soft copy, or do we have to simply update it on app? So it depends. It's a state law, right? So it is depending from state to state, district to district. So Noida has an app, Telangana has an app. So completely, some people accept email, some need hard copies. So it depends from your state to state where you are based out of. Right, Mumbai prefers a soft copy to be emailed to them on their email ID. So is there a deadline? This is a question that keeps coming to me, that, okay, we understand January to December, we have to file the report, but when do we have to file it by? Good practice, at least do it in first or second week of January, the following January. Maximum 31st January. There is always a scare around 31st January saying, oh, somebody said that we have to finish it by 31st January. It is not have to, it is good to finish, okay? Do not delay it. Consider this important. Yeah. Right, that's the question. Is there a last day to file annual report? Maximum by 31st January of the next year is a recommended date. It is not a last date. I have not come across any notification stating that it's a recommended date. Yeah. So confidentiality is a key aspect when you're filing a return. People keep asking questions that what do we have to tell them about the case? Do we have to give the name of the victim and the respondent, who complained against whom, what was the outcome? No, you have to ensure that confidentiality is maintained of every case. If you saw the template, the indicative template that I showed you, it just asks you number of complaints. It asks you that what is the kind of outcome, okay? They do not ask you the name. So identity of the person, complainant and respondent, addresses of these people have to be protected. And IC recommendations will not go out in any form to anybody. So that is your responsibility to maintain, okay? So you cannot publish it in media or any forum, any public forum, or provide any IC recommendation. How did it go? Was there a conciliation? What was the outcome? No. This details will be maintained only by the presiding officer. Even if a labor commissioner or a labor officer walks into your office and starts demanding you to provide the details, you're not going to publish it, okay? Only when a higher court demands, because there has been an appeal by one of the parties, that's the only time when you produce these documents. Otherwise, it has to be kept in lock and key by the presiding officer. All right. Is there a penalty if we do not file this report? Yes, it is compliance and there is a penalty. First time around, it could be a 50,000 rupees, which the people can be, the employer will be penalized, and repeat offense could lead to losing your license, which is a severe punishment. So please be on the right side of the law. Please believe in the subject. I have been getting a lot of questions via all of you saying malicious complaints, false complaints, and there are many other things that they do not believe in. I will take some time to explain to you the spirit of the law a little later. Some tricky situations. So everything is not hunky-dory here. There are loads of tricky situations that we are going to fall for annual report filing. What are those tricky situations? So I have picked it up from the questions that you gave me. I got more than 100, not 100, but more than I think 60, 70 odd questions, but I've picked few which I thought I could answer here, because there are many questions which even I don't know, okay, honestly, but I didn't find any such question there. So I have taken a shot at each question which was related to annual report. Yeah. We have multiple offices in India under various districts. Can we submit one common report? If you have 10 or more employees in each of these branches, please submit individual reports to these district offices. That is required. We have sales office where we have less than 10 employees. Do they have to still file reports in these districts? No, they do not have to file reports in their individual districts, only where there are 10 or more employees. What happens if the case is in progress as on 31st December? Then you have to mention that a case is in progress. It's okay, you can insert one additional line, or you can, in this line where there are cases reported, put one and put in bracket in progress. Perfect. It's a free text, okay? You can insert more inputs into it. What happens if we are unable to close a case in 90 days? Then please understand why. Is it because of IC's non-availability? Then we are in trouble. If it is because the complainant was not available, or the respondent was not available, or some unforeseen incident, then we can mention that. Okay, please mention that in your final report of that particular case, that why did you delay it beyond 90 days? I have been party to few of such investigations, but we were very clear that why the case went beyond 90 days. And please ensure that you have documentation of everything. If there is an email exchange, for example, the complainant has fallen sick, she's in the hospital, ensure you seek the medical certificate. Respondent is not available, he's out of town, then ensure you seek those documentation. It can't be a hearsay or just a verbal statement recorded. It has to be a perfect reason. Okay. One very interesting question that I came across is of a person who says that we conduct virtual learning sessions. How do we report the number of awareness programs conducted? This gentleman is a very good question, and I believe that in this you have to mention number of instances. I see that some lovely child also is interested in the conversation. Yeah. So how does the e-learning count? So you will have to then list the number of people who have taken those e-learning. Okay. So this is very important. So what does that mean? If you have 1,000 employees and 950 employees have taken. Vishwa, will you put yourself on mute, please? We could hear, the entire team can hear your voice. Vishwa? Yeah. So 950 employees have taken a session. So you can write 950 sessions conducted. Perfectly fine. Considering current situations, what are the methods of creating awareness? There are many, right? Online, as I told you earlier, online e-learning works beautifully. Webinar sessions have been very intriguing and interesting. There have been, we've conducted for a few of them, theater-based programs online, which has gained a lot of, imagine getting everybody together for a session. It is becoming very, very interesting for a whole lot of people. I have few of my clients who took those webinar sessions, and they were very, very happy about the outcome. There are storytelling sessions which are getting handled. Okay, very important, very interesting. All right. What happens if the wrong information is filed? If it is a mistake, you can send a supplementary report and say an update and get it refiled. Okay, if you've done it purposely, I think you would know what to do about it, right? So if it's a mistake, please correct it. We are human, we could make a mistake, okay? But ensure that you correct it immediately. How to check about local authority to file annual return? Yes, that is a good question. I told you how we did it. I recommend that before you do all that, you write to us one-on-one. If we have, we will send it to you. If we do not have, we'll try and find it for you. But what are the best steps? Google about the district office in your location. You can put your PIN code and figure out. It will throw up the details. Okay, call that number and figure out whether they are taking sexual harassment report, annual report. Once they confirm the address with them, confirm if they have an email ID, and then you could send it to them. Okay, ensure when you send it, do it via email with some read receipt if possible. If you're sending it via speed post, ensure that you have maintained the speed post receipt. Okay. How does one file annual report to LCC? This is a question that I got, and I was not sure what this person wanted to ask, but let me rephrase it. You don't have to file an annual report to LCC. You have to file it to the district office. ICC and LCC are at the same level. Nobody reports to each other, right? They are the same level. There is no need to file a report. ICC does not have to file a report to LCC. They have to file a report to the district office, which appoints LCC, local complaints committee. Okay, so you have to file a report to district office and not LCC. The PoSH could have been included in one of the code bills, keeping it as a separate statute. Why is PoSH gaining all that importance? Okay, trust me, after giving it so much of importance also, there is a large number of percentage which has not been following this law. They are non-compliant. Imagine if this was mixed up in the statute, which is also, it also has a lot of gaps. What would have happened to it? So I'm glad it is kept outside of the code. Okay, it has not gained as much as importance as it should. We should, all of us, 70+ people on this, should be giving it that much importance and create a multiplying effect. Please do that. Is it necessary to submit the report quarterly as well? I know a lot of people do it, and I really want to know where do they submit it. There is no such quarterly report to be submitted. Please, if I am missing something, let me know. I have not heard of any quarterly report to be submitted. I know a lot of organizations, payroll partners come back and say that that they would want to file a quarterly report. Please, there's no such need. How to identify concerned district office? I think we spoke about that. All right, I have a gift for each one of you. Should I say it now, or should I say it after I respond to few questions? I can see some popping up here, or some that has come to me earlier. All right, I don't want to be standing in between me and the gifts. Me and the gifts should be given to you. Considering the current festive season, what KelpHR is giving to you is first 5 live participants can write to info@KelpHR for a free audit to be conducted in their organization, and we will be happy to do that. So please write to us. Okay. First 5, unfortunately, we would love to do it for everybody, but we are also short of bandwidth. But we wanted to give you a gift because we have taken out 1 hour of your time. Yeah. please make a note of email ID. Yeah, I'll go back to some questions which is there on the chat box and some which came to us via the registration. So Jayaprada is asking, is it necessary to have different committees also in each office where we have 10+ employees? Yes. So Jaya, one question. I think there's a confusion between different IC. You have to have an IC. It doesn't say you have to have a different IC. Okay. So every office should have their IC. So if I'm part of, for example, a Pune office and somebody else is part of a Chennai office, there could be the same IC members who are monitoring Chennai and Pune. But a Pune people also have an IC and Chennai people also have an IC. That is required. Okay.
Okay, so basically you're trying to say, hi, this is Jayaprada. I'm sorry. Okay,
No
that was
problem.
my question. So basically what you're trying to say is the IC members, that is the IC committee can be same for all the branch offices, but only the reports have to be filed in the different district codes. Sorry,
Yes.
district offices.
So if Chennai, just to give you an example, if there is a case in Chennai, it has to get reported in Chennai district. One thing, as you have now opened up your bridge, I would also want to add that please have representatives of both office part of IC. All right?
Sorry?
Please have representatives of both the office be part of IC. It shouldn't be. For example, you have Pune and Chennai office. So when you're constituting an IC, have a joint IC.
Okay,
so,
okay. Yeah, I get it now.
All right.
Thank you so much, Smitha.
No problem. Anytime. What happens, Purva is asking, what happens if you fail to file annual report? I told you there is a penalty up to 50,000 for first time around. You could lose a license to operate if it is a multiple, if you've been doing it again and again. Purva, be on the right side of law. It is not worth it. Please file the report. Okay. Can the session also be counted as a training to be reported in the report? But y'all are not employees, right? Y'all are employers. People who have been part of these training. Okay, they are generally HR folks, right? We need employees to attend the training program. Okay. So there is another one. Is if there is a nil case, give me 1 minute. Yeah. If there is a nil case in a year, does the IC still have to meet? Yes, IC's role does not stop only to manage cases. Your role is for prevention and prohibition as well. If you don't meet and discuss these initiatives, how are you going to work on two of your important roles, which is prevention and prohibition? If we haven't conducted IC meeting till date in spite of 0 cases, what is the way forward? That's why I'm doing it 2 months in advance. You have November and December. Please conduct a meeting, right? How many times the IC is supposed to meet if there are no cases? It's okay. You can meet once in a half year, once in a year, but please meet. I know of labor officers walking into office and asking, where is the minutes of the meeting of last IC meeting? Please, for the spirit and for the law, for the word of in the law, please meet. It's important. You do not know how many issues get discussed. All right. Do we have to file in those districts where there are 0 cases? Yes, you have to file as 0 cases. And how many training sessions done? There is, you have to still file it, Rima. So hi, Smitha, if there are nil cases in a year, does IC still need to meet? Yes, yes. Hetal, yes. I'll go right up. Okay, Kiran is saying how many trainings are necessary in 1 year as per compliance? So Kiran, good question. If you look at the law, it does not say that every person has to do n number of trainings in a year. No, but it says that it is employer's obligation to conduct workshops, and you have to report it at the end of the end of the calendar year. So I recommend that at least one training program is a good idea to be done. Okay, once in a year, one program.
Okay.
All right.
And can I ask one more question just right here? My name is
Yes,
Kiran. You've just
yes,
answered.
yes.
So if you want only the employees need to conduct the training, is it very necessary that we include the ICC team as well during the training time, or do we need to conduct a different session for ICC team as well?
You can have. So what kind of training needs to be conducted, Kiran, is completely your prerogative, what you want to do. ICs can also be part of that training program, no problem. In fact, ICs need to spend a little more time than the employees. Okay, because their role and responsibility is very important. Yes, yes. Kiran.
Okay. So you mean that the sensitization course is, sort of a session is important for the employees, but the training for the ICC to conduct the inquiry is something important. That's a
different kind. That's a different kind of training, right? They are different kinds. Sensitization is different, and upskilling IC is a very different kind of a program.
Okay. And this will be included, right?
This will be included. Say that again. What does that mean?
And this need to be reported during the report.
Annual report. Yes. It needs to
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Anjali, I think I answered Jayaprada. Ideally, each employee should have been trained once through the year. Yes, I agree with Anjali. What happens if you fail? We spoke about that. Kiran, no, this cannot be considered. Okay, your voice is breaking up. Really, Sonal, can you hear now? So totally 2 reports to be filled, right? 1 annual report to district office and the employer. Yes. And the director's report. Anything else to be filled externally? No. Only 2 reports. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Smitha. Smitha, can you just do me a favor? Can you just explain me again the concept of director's report again, please? What is
every company which gets registered under ROC registers of companies, okay, every organization in India has to fill a director's report. It's like an annual report that we have to fill. Under that, there is a provision of putting in PoSH report too. Almost similar what we give it to district office, the same needs to be reported here too.
So this is just internal report. This does not need.
It goes to registrar of companies. It's an external report.
This does also goes out.
Yes.
So there are 2 reports which goes to the district officer.
Yes. Yes. 2 reports. Yeah, you can speak to the auditor of your organization. She will know it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, this is more of a financial report. So you speak to the auditors, they will know it.
Thank you, Smitha.
Yeah. Welcome. You can write to us if it is still not clear, Kiran.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you so much for giving that flexibility.
No problem. Yes, Sonal, you were supposed to say something.
Smitha, Sonal here. Are you able? Smitha, Sonal here. Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yes, now I can.
Sure. So only these 2, right? So apart from this, nothing else needs to be filed externally.
Externally, nothing. Only if there is an appeal, Sonal, of any of the cases, then it goes to a higher court. At that time, you might have to bring up the case papers, but that is only case-to-case basis. No report. Okay. I think.
Okay, got it. Sure.
How many times is the IC supposed to meet? We spoke that whether ICC member of Chennai office can be a member of Pune office. Yes. Whether holding company member can be a member of subsidiary of company. Yes. We can loan IC members. Okay. We can definitely loan IC members from a parent company to a subsidiary company, from a subsidiary company to a parent company. Yes, we can do that. If worst come situation and you're not able to find anybody, you can write to your district office saying, there are these challenges in manufacturing setup where diversity is very low and we need to have maximum women employees part of IC. Then you can write to the district officer saying we do not have, and they could help you find one person who could be in your IC. Okay, that also is a provision. How to report same gender incidence report? Do we need to file a separate report or can it be included as general annual report? Okay, same gender, if if the victim is a woman, you can report in the same report. But if the victim is a man, or so if it's a trans woman, also you can report in this. But if the other man, woman, and other is a man, or who feels is a man, okay, that does not get reported. Unfortunately, this is women-only law, so only women victims report gets reported here. Okay. Okay, Deepa is saying government. I'm sorry, I don't know why it is not scrolling down. I'll try. Okay. For government offices, quarterly meeting of IC is mandatory. Is this? Not that I have known of. They must have come up with their own thing. So it could be mandatory under that.
Smitha, can I reply to this? Deepa here.
Yes, Deepa.
I wrote it. There is a Ministry of Personal Circular 2015, which says for all government offices, especially central government offices, they must meet quarterly, whether they have a case or no case.
Okay.
So many of the private organizations, they take it as a base document, and they too follow for a quarterly meeting, because that's better to have things arranged and better managed about the subject matter.
Yeah. So great. Thank you for that insight, Deepa.
You're welcome.
So whoever are part of government organizations, that's Deepa Rafiq for you. Okay. Vandana Mehra is asking, we have some offices which we do not have 10 employees. Do we still need to file a report? So those offices can be left, but wherever you have 10 or more employees, you need to file report in those districts. Okay.
Smitha, can I interfere here? I had that question also put here, that where it says that if you have less than 10 employees, you need not to file the report.
So you do not have an IC itself, Deepa, if you have 10.
So what if IC is not there, still case is there, and case will go to LC if I have less than 10 employees?
So it goes to LC and LC reports it, right?
But that is my organization. No, agreed. That is my organization. That is why I'm asking. I just want to understand, because that is my organization, and there are organizations who file a report they compile the report of all the offices, branches, and they file centrally.
Centrally, some organizations do that. Okay. If there is a case and there's a large organization, there's an apex body, and they have various offices which has less than 10 employees, but there are cases reported, then you can file it in one apex body. But if there are sales offices which generally are of 2 numbers, 3 numbers, the question is, what I understood from Vandana Mehra, and she is part of an organization which is an NGO, which I assume do not have cases. Then in those cases, 1 member, 2 member, they don't have to necessarily send a document which says 0 cases, right?
Okay, but one thing can be there, that in report, we are not only specifying or mentioning about the complaints. The report also consists of training aspect. So even if I have 1 or 2 employees, I need to conduct the training for those employees.
Right.
So need not I have to mention about that I have done the trainings, because LC will not report about my training aspect. As you said, if the complaint is there, that will be reported by LC. Agreed.
Right.
But what about training? So whether I conducted the training for those 2, 3, 4 employees or not, that cannot be reported anywhere.
So Deepa, it's a great point. What I recommend then is that in such scenarios, okay, this is a very unique scenario. In such scenarios, the apex body or the central body can report it, saying that I have 100 employees, but they are spread across 25 locations, okay, which have 444. But as an organization, now take an example of KelpHR. Okay, we are 15 employees, but we are spread across 7 locations. But what we do, Chennai is a registered office for us. So we send Chennai district 1 report saying that we have trained 15 people, we have 0 cases, right? We do that.
That's if I what have only saying. 1 office, I am a startup, I have only 1 office, 5 people are there, then what?
Then you don't need to, you don't have an IC.
I don't have an IC, I agree, I don't need IC. But what about the training aspect, how that will be informed to the government?
I don't,
File the report?
that is, no, I don't see a reason, Deepa, to file a report.
Then how do I report
It's an
about it? I have
ICC.
trained my people.
So that is employer trying to do. ICC
Employer's
does not
duty.
file.
Employers.
It
So
is
employer
IC.
it's a 5-member
So
startup.
Deepa, I think we'll get into this discussion. Let's take it offline. Very clearly, it is ICC's responsibility to file this report. Okay, first. Second, if you have 5 employees, I don't see a reason, because it will go to LCC. You don't have an ICC who will do it. Okay, we can get into this discussion because we are short in time, 18 minutes to go. Let us finish all the other questions. Is that okay? Yeah, all right. How many times?
Smitha, I have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt. So we actually have offices with less than 10 number of staff, but we also have an IC in place in those locations. So just in case if in those locations a situation arises or a case arises, can we file a report in spite of being less than 10 in number?
You can see, nobody stops you. Says do not do it is not done. Deepa rightly said that I want to do it. Go ahead and do it. Nobody is stopping you. Okay, but people get stressed that, oh my God, I have 2%, 3%, 4%. Where do I'll have to file 10 reports. You don't have to. It is not compulsory. It is not mandated. Nobody will ask you a question that why you are not doing it. Go ahead, do it. You know, it's being the right kind of a citizen that you are trying to do it. Appreciate it. But is it mandated? No, it is not mandated.
Okay.
Can I skip it? Yes, you can skip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or I
Thank
can,
you so much.
Sorry, to add to what Ursula said, or I can report it in my head office report, right? I can add everything together.
Yes. That's what I gave an example of KelpHR specifically. We have 15 employees based out of 7 locations. We send one common report to our registered office saying so many people went through the training, these many cases, if any.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Whether an ICC member of Chennai office can be a member of OB. Done this, gender, we've done. If we have some offices which do not have 10 employees, we did this. If enough experienced members are not available with India office, can a global members be included in IC? We have had that. We are having that. Such permutation and combination is there. There is no mention of, law doesn't speak about it at all. Okay. But there are instances when there are no senior people and they are the global folks who are sitting. But I recommend that please have people on site be part of IC, because presiding officer, all these people have to be there face to face. Good idea. But now being online is also a great, I mean, people have suddenly discovered that being online is not that difficult. Yeah. Okay. If we haven't filed any AR till date, annual report, what should be done? Please start doing it, Ursula, if you have not done it. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why it is getting stuck. All right. Okay. As you said, ICC members should contain 1 member from local regional office. If an organization is having 30 offices in India, how can we implement? Please have regional IC. You can have like North IC, South IC, West IC, East IC. Please go ahead and do that. I recommend have office specific ICs as much as possible. But then when there are smaller numbers, it's difficult. These are some practices which you can use. But if you look at the law says you have to have ICs of that particular location available. Okay. Frequency of director report is also once a year. Yes. Is there an eligibility criteria to be part of IC committee members? External member is listed. Internal members, we look at the most credible people in the organization, people who will not be judgmental, people who are educated, they understand the sensitivity, are not too busy, that cannot give time for this cause, believes in this cause. These are few of the eligibility criteria. Have never offended themselves, have never been penalized for any disciplinary proceedings themselves. We consider these people to be part of IC, internal IC member. External IC member are of three categories. First is somebody who comes from an NGO. Second, somebody who has legal knowledge. Or third, somebody who has worked in this field at least for 5 years. Okay. Sorry. Is the external committee member not available for quite some time and we need to take someone else in the IC as external? Can we go ahead and what is the procedure for the same? Yes, please do not depend and wait for the external member to return. Please reach out to us if you need help. We can give you, do not wait. There are very few good professionals available. You can immediately get somebody else, replace that person. Simply what you have to do is that IC should meet, the employer should appoint this external member, and it should be minuted somewhere saying that for this particular case, this is a new composition. There are times when there are internal members who are not available. They have gone on a holiday or something. So the employer has to step in, constitute a new IC and come up with it. Okay. We have 6 establishments, and for 6 establishments, the ICC is the same. Is it fine as per the Act? Okay. Ursula, if you do not have people, there's no way out. Okay. But what I recommend is, if possible, have some people, because 6 establishments, same IC. If you can have representation from these individual offices, great. Okay, form a 4-member team or 5-member team, smaller IC, but see if you can have an apex body which is monitoring it, great. Yeah. If all employees are male, how do we constitute an IC? See if you can loan somebody from your parent organization, subsidiary organization, okay, or external member can be an IC. Another thing is, write to your district office, they will arrange somebody for you, okay. One of, I think Rajkumarji, I don't know if he's there, he had done a RTI for this, that they did not have anybody who could be part of the IC, and they had written to the district office, and the district office had asked them, tried to help them to find somebody who could be in the IC. Okay. All right. I'll go back. Any other questions, folks, or should I go to the questions?
Smitha, I just actually had this one last question, that what if the ICC members are not changed after 3 years?
Please do that. It is written clearly in the law that we need to ensure that we have new set of people in IC every 3 years. Please get some fresh blood within the IC. It is important. Okay. There are lots. Yeah.
Smitha, and one more question. What if we are changing ICC like twice in a year just because of certain set of circumstances, or maybe more than 2 times to 3 times, considering that, considering that the external member is not available, or she's not attending the sessions or something like. So how can we do that?
We have to simply meet I told you the employer has to come up with the reasons why a new IC is constituted, and if it is a firm reason, it is very clearly written, then it can be done. It's not.
Is this need to be reported during the annual filing?
No, annual filing. I recommend the current IC composition be reported. The current IC, this is the presiding officer, this is the external member, and these are the other members. That's
so just
You don't have to mention that there were changes. No, that's not required.
So just in case of the audit if happened, we should have the explanation towards it, right?
Yes, yes. If there is a question that there was somebody else, generally it doesn't happen. If you're having a constituted a strong IC, there is no question. But if a complainant or respondent says, okay, when the case started, X was part of IC, suddenly in between Y is part of IC, this is confusing. IC is so dynamic. Okay, my case is not being heard, and she or even he could challenge you in court of law. That is when the challenge will come up.
So your particular point is that we should not reconstitute the ICC while there's an investigation happening, but we can do it later on in the year.
Before that, after that, when the case comes, see, there are times when the cases come to you, and suddenly you realize that one of the IC members has a stake in investigation. Okay, and the IC member wants to step down. At that time, you have to replace, okay, that person with somebody else. At that time, you can constitute and say, okay, for this particular case, this is the constitution of IC.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you, thank you.
Welcome. A classroom training for all employees is good to go every year. Yeah, it's a great thing to do. Yeah, Rosetta, if we have done PoSH training for all employees in a year, do we still have to do it in the following year? I recommend once a year do a session on PoSH. Okay, is it mandatory? It's not mandatory, but do we have to report it? Yes, we have to. So it's kind of confusing. Okay, it is. You have to report it. Is it mandatory? So it is employer's obligation to conduct awareness. That is mentioned in the law. So tomorrow, if a case comes up, the first question that will be asked to all the parties is, do you know about the policy? Do you know about the law? Who are your IC members? And if the person, the complainant or respondent say, no, we do not know and we were not trained, I don't know, it happened some years back, then you are looked at in a bad light. So it's a good idea to do it once a year. Ensure you take signatures, very important to take signatures saying you have attended, or some kind of a confirmation saying you have attended the class or you have attended the course is a great idea. Yeah. All right. For new joinees, we have a mandatory PoSH module. Great, Hetal. You should have one. But, you know, I recommend when a person joins newly, they are so overwhelmed with so many sessions that they are going through, they might not remember. So once somewhere in the middle, please do a refresher and ensure everybody goes through it. Yeah, before it's going to be 4:53. Can I request for a picture of all of us? If y'all are okay, we could take a picture and then we could continue with this conversation. Anybody has, if everybody can come on camera, it's a great memory. We have like 64, 65 people. Gurmeet, will you be able to take a screenshot?
Sure, Smitha.
Awesome. Wow, lovely. Lovely to see all of you. Yeah, let me know when it is done, Gurmeet, so I can continue with the conversation, or you can keep it. So Kunjal is saying we have a global sexual harassment training mandatory along with the Indian PoSH training. Can we include in the report? Yes, Kunjal, you can. Of course, you can report that, but ensure that our 2013 Act is covered in that. Yeah, I have issue with camera not working. Ghanshyam, it's perfectly fine. I thought it was a question. All right, I'm going back to a few questions. How many times should ICC team conduct meetings in a year? Purely your choice. You can do it quarterly, as Deepa mentioned that as per government regulation, there is a requirement in government companies, you're required to meet quarterly. In private, I have not seen any such thing, but at least meet once in half year, once in quarter will be best. Okay. All right. What is PoSH compliance? Okay, one question was, is annual report only the PoSH compliance? No. PoSH compliance starts with having a policy in place. Do you have a policy which is detailed and communicated to all employees? That's the first thing. Second, have you put up a poster which speaks about penal consequences in your office spaces? That's the second requirement. Third, do you have an IC which is constituted, trained, empowered? That is another requirement. Fourth, do you conduct training programs for all your employees on regular intervals? That's the fourth requirement. And the fifth one is, do you submit annual report? Okay, so these are the 5 requirements of compliances. These are non-negotiable ones. So there are softer things which we can, it's a different, I mean, I can go on speaking about Sexual Harassment and Workplace Prevention, Prohibition, Redressal Act 2013 for at least 1 week straight. And so many things that is a part of it, right? Okay, Sonal is saying, Deepa, for government companies, do they have to file report as well quarterly?
No, it's only the meeting is required quarterly. Report is annual only.
Thank you, Deepa. Okay.
Sure, thank you.
All right. So I think we have All right. How do you identify and tackle fake sexual harassment case? I think you have to complete the proceedings, and once you come to the end of the proceedings, only you can make out that whether it is a false complaint, malicious intent complaint. Please do not enter a case thinking that this is false or malicious, because then you have lost the whole the essence of being an IC person. An IC approaches the case without any biases, right? So do not enter into it. If you're doing it, so please step out saying, I'm not going to handle the case. This is totally false. I have already made up my mind. Will not serve the purpose. Once you come to the end of it, only then you will get to know whether it was false or malicious. And if it is strongly a false or malicious complaint, then the person who has made it can be treated severely, can be penalized. It can be the same amount of punishment can be given that you give to a perpetrator. Yeah. All right. I think we have 2 minutes left, and thank you very much. There are loads of questions flowing in, but thank you very, very much for being part of this session. I'll keep trying to do like pick up all your questions and try and club all of them. Like we could do one session only on malicious complaints or how do we investigate. Okay, I'll keep coming up with these series. Thank you very much for your time today, all of you.
Thank you,
I'm
Smitha.
sure all of you all have invested. Thank you, Deepa. You were so important for government. So we'll do one session on government organizations. How's that? Thank you.
Thank you, Smitha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Smitha. It was a great learning session.
Thank you, Surekha.
Thank you, Smitha.
Wow. That is a long thank you. Really
Thank you.
long
Thank you, Smitha. Bye.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you so much.